we will begin. All right. Well, good evening, ladies. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. I am Jackie Jackson. I am a money mindset coach and real estate investor, and teaching women how to invest in real estate, live boldly, live passionately, live with confidence so that they can conquer and get everything that they want in their lives, right? So you are joining us this evening on our first week of the Money Matters MINDSHIFT Mastermind. And I am so excited. This 6-week journey is going to be like lit, ladies. Okay. It's going to be so amazing, so wonderful. And it's going to really release some thoughts, some limiting beliefs and disempowering belief systems that kind of we've inherited over the last couple of years of our lives that are impacting our ability to really make the money that we need in order to live our best lives. Fair enough? So that is the whole purpose of our mastermind. And the bonus included in our mastermind is our real estate investing strategies, right? So after we have reprogrammed our thinking, rewrote our money story, we're also going to write out our best life and be really specific and decisive on what we really want in our lives, and then match that up with a real estate strategy that is going to support your best life, right? Wouldn't that be like the best thing ever, since sliced bread, knowing and having a clear path of how you're going to live your wealthy life, right? From this point forward, you'll have a really set, clear plan on what needs to happen in order for you to experience the joy, the prosperity, the abundance, and everything that you want to do. So with no further ado, I wanted to introduce each of you ladies individually. So what I would love for you to do is share your name, where you're from, and share with me what you would like to get out of this mastermind. All right. So I know she was. I see you rolling. Yeah, don't you roll your eyes at me. Your camera's still on. I see you. It's all good though. I love you guys. All right. So with no further ado, I know Courtney, she just put her camera on. She turned it off. No, you can't hide from me, Courtney. There's only 4 of us on here, so I see you anyway. So that's so funny. All right. So the one who has their camera on, so by default, we're going to go with Tanisha first. Well, Courtney, you look like you just unmuted yourself. So I'm going to go with Courtney. So I'm going to start with you. She was like, no, but wait. All right. So
wait, look, I just got in here. No.
That's all right. You're going to tell all the ladies, introduce yourself, where you're from, right? What you do, right? In your work. Remember how awesome and amazing your work is, what you're currently doing right now, and what you want to get out of the mastermind. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. So go on.
So my name's Courtney, and I'm from Indiana, but I live in Atlanta right now. And I'm currently an esthetician. I do full body waxing, make sure all the hair is gone, And I am an aspiring real estate investor, and I got to shift my mindset. So this is why I'm in here. so I can get out of my own way. So
Amen. We're about to mind shift and remove some roadblocks, right? Remove these blocks in our subconscious mind so we can get where we need to go and have the confidence to do it, right? That's awesome. All right. So Miss Tanika, your turn. Hold on. I see you. Your turn, ma'am.
Hi. Please forgive me. I had surgery this morning, so my mouth is it hurts a little bit. And I'm looking but it's okay. I'm here. My name is Tanika. I'm a registered nurse, and I have been in the healthcare field for 18 years. I haven't been a nurse that long. I've been a nurse about 6 years. But what I want to do is learn how to start investing in real estate, because I've always, always, always wanted to do that. I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to get started. So when I found the group, I was just like, oh my God, it's other women that does it, when I really didn't think that women did it. I always thought that it was just like a man thing and they were doing it and they run that. Then I started to see a lot of times that women was doing it. So it just piqued my interest even more, like, okay, so I can do it. But I'm just like Miss C. I can't, did you say her name was Courtney?
Yes, Courtney spoke
Miss
first.
Courtney. I need to learn how to get out of my own way. And what I want to get from this class is to change my mindset and to also gain some confidence, because I lack that sometimes. I don't know why I feel like I can't do it, and I'll talk myself out of doing so many things that I probably could achieve. So that's what I want to get out of this class.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. So, Miss Nikki, I see you. I saw your message. You're trying to get to a quiet place. Are you ready to share? Unmute yourself. There you go, beautiful. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How is everyone?
Good, good. We're so happy to have you. Courtney and Tanika are anxiously waiting to know who you are. So share well, they know your name. Your name is Nikki. They can see that. But where you're from, what you currently do, and your expectations, and what would you like to get out of the mastermind?
I'm Nikki, and I'm in Florida. I'm in Brevard County specifically. What I do right now is I'm in financial services. I've been in this career field for a little over 20 years now. And just like both of you ladies, I'm looking to get out of my own way and to get started on my entrepreneurial journey, to just get bold and put myself out there and get it done.
That is awesome. That is really, really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. And I'm going to share about myself as well, too. So I'm Jackie, and I'm just really excited to have all of you ladies on here. And I know exactly how you feel in this moment right now. The consensus among all of you is, how in the world do I get out of myself, get out of my own way, so I can do the things that are like in my mind? Like, I know each of you see yourselves as successful, and when you look at your life and you look and you vision your future, it's almost like you can see it, you can touch it, you can like taste it. And you're like, what in the world? Why am I not like moving in that direction? Where am I, missing? What pieces am I missing right now in my life? And I want to share with you that I have been there. Like, I really, really have been there. And it took a really magnificent turn around, and it wasn't anything that I was actually doing wrong, like physically. I physically had all the tools, all the resource, all the knowledge, I had the support, I had all of these things. And then I found out, like, okay, I had everything that I needed. So what's the problem? And like, you ladies, you have a lot of the resources, you have the YouTube University, you have all of, the tools, the strategies, the tips, the tricks, you got the Facebook groups, you got the forums, you have all of these things. There's no shortage of information. So that means that it's not coming from the information. Like, the limitation is not because there's not enough information. The limitation is coming from within, right? So that's the conversation that we will be having throughout this mastermind, and understanding what are the strategies that we can use personally for ourselves to help ourselves get past the negative self-talk, all of the things that we're always telling ourselves that we can't, all of the thoughts and the patterns that is happening inside our subconscious mind, which is really the place where our decision-making process is occurring, right? because we think we're in control, but really what's happening is way back here, you know, and you got to be able to recognize when the little girl inside you, the little princess inside you is trying to protect you. And sometimes she's protecting you from something that you don't need protection from. So we want to be able to recognize when she is over exerting herself and imposing herself on your new life. All right. So that's what we are going to be talking about today. So our lesson for today, ladies, is we're going to be talking about the history of money, and we're also going to be talking about your personal history with money as well, right? So I placed a link inside the chat. For you ladies to review whenever you had an opportunity, but it also will be included in your follow-up email with your homework anyway, so you'll have it. So I just got a real quick link from the internet, because it's all, you could find anything on Google. So the history of money, right? Because everybody is always talking about money. We're always talking about what it means to us. But what is money anyway? Like, what is it? Like, where did it come from? Like, how was it even derived? Where did it come from? And why is it so important in our lives, right? So way, way, way back when, right, in antiquity, if you want, we're going to go all the way back there. There wasn't really any money, not the way that we know it as today. What people did back then is they actually exchanged services, they exchanged goods, right? They bartered, right? So for example, Courtney, you had cows, okay? And I needed milk, but you didn't have chickens, okay? But I had chickens, you had cows. I'd be like, all right, I tell you what, I'm gonna give you 5 of my chickens for 1 of your cows. And that's how society really worked together. So it behooved us in our community for us to work together. So for example, I needed a cobbler, right? Somebody who was going to repair shoes and repair sandals, but I didn't have that skill. I didn't have that trade. I only had chickens. So I'm going to give you 3 of my chickens, and you're going to make my family 4 pairs of shoes. That's really how our society began to exchange value with each other. So that's the beginnings of our barter system. Okay. So that is in, antiquity. And we did that for many, many, many centuries, right? Humans did that for many, many centuries. Well, with the technological age, and as humans advanced in their society, it became kind of cumbersome to always, be carrying around a whole bunch of cows all the time. Because people started to migrate, they started to go different places, and it got really difficult to always, be carrying your herds everywhere you were going. So it just got really complicated. So fast forward a couple of centuries, and guess who actually minted the first coins, like the first real just tangible thing that would be equal to a specific value? It was actually the Chinese. So the Chinese, in the Chinese culture, they were the ones who actually made coins, right? And that became the thing, right? If you had coins, then no longer did you have to drag your cows and drag your chickens everywhere you went in order for you to actually have an exchange of something, So now we have coins. So fast forward again into the future, and from coins, now we actually have paper. Does that make sense? So now we actually have paper. And when we had paper, we went to a different type of system. We went to notes, and probably Nikki could probably elaborate on that as well too, working in the financial industry when we talk about notes and we talk about paper and the value behind it, right? And then even fast forward a little bit more, today we have even surpassed paper, and we went from paper to plastic, right? So, this little card right here equals money, right? That makes sense. So we went from paper to plastic, and now even fast forward from plastic to Bitcoin. it's not even like a thing. You know what I mean? Like what is Bitcoin, right? It's gone into like cryptocurrency. So even the plastic is becoming obsolete, right? You can actually buy and trade with this Bitcoin, into, this currency thing that doesn't even make sense, right? So what is money and like what it really means to you? Money is an exchange of value, right? So in God's infinite universe, he created laws, right? So I remember on each of our strategy sessions, we're talking about universal laws. And just because you don't see something with your natural eye, with your, your ability, your five senses, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? So we have these laws in place in our universe that really govern a lot of the things. Like, for example, gravity, right? We all know about gravity, but we can't touch it, right? We can't, manipulate it, but you do know that if you fall off this building, it's not going to be a good day. It's going to hurt a bit, right? You're going to get hurt. The gravity is going to do what it's supposed to do. So there are laws for compensation as well. There are laws for earning money as well. And the laws of compensation say, if you want to make more money, you have to solve more problems. You have to solve bigger problems, right? So the bigger the challenge, the bigger the situation, the bigger the pain it is for the other person, the bigger the convenience or the happiness that you bring to that other person, they will gladly exchange the little piece of paper with ink on it and give it to you because you provided them with a valuable service, right? So for example, like right now, if you feel like you're not making enough money, that might be because the service that you're providing doesn't solve enough of a big pain. So your compensation is in direct relationship to your service that you're actually giving. Does that make sense? That's a big one. That's a really, really big one. And you know what? Sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, to be honest, because when you're in school, what do they tell you about money? If they even speak of it at all. The consensus is go to school, get good grades, get a job, and the job is going to give you money. They don't say how much is going to give you, but they say you're going to earn money from that. And then you start doing that, you go in that path, you go to school, you get good grades, you get a job, and it starts to pay you money. And then you realize, wow, this is not enough money for me to live the life of my dreams. This is not the type of lifestyle that I envision having. And then you get all disappointed and you're like, okay, well, I want to earn more money. So what do you do when you want to earn more money? All right, Courtney, when you want to earn more money, what you do? Here we go. I'm going to unmute you. Here we go.
Oh.
So when you want to earn more money or you have heard about earning more money, what do people normally do when they want to earn more money?
Start figuring out how they can earn more money.
Yes. And then normally sometimes that may include what? Like getting another job, you know what I mean?
They find a side hustle.
They find a side hustle or they do overtime. Yes. They start putting in more time, right? They start exchanging more time for compensation, and that's not how you make more money. So exchanging more time for money is not how you make more money.
That's a trade.
That's a trade. Money is in a direct relationship. Earning more money is in a direct relationship to the value that you bring to somebody else. But they don't tell you that in school because it's misunderstood. That law of compensation is misunderstood. So I'm going to ask Miss Nikki because she works in the finance industry. So let me get her included and see what her perspective is. One moment. So Nikki, I am going to unmute you, or you can unmute yourself there. I'm trying to unmute you, but it seems, okay, there you go. Share with the ladies, Nikki, your perspective when you wanted to earn more money in your history of working and in your career so far. What were some of the things that you did to earn more money?
go back to school to earn a different degree or higher level of degree, apply for higher paying positions. But fortunately now I'm at a place where I realize that based on the resources that I have available to me, I can basically sell my services for additional for that compensation, as opposed to just working a traditional 9 to 5. And that way it allows me to determine my own feelings.
Yes.
That was one of the best things I ever did, because we always have something that somebody will pay us to teach them. And my systems have allowed me to make much more money than I ever could have without them, just doing it myself.
That's really good. So you came to a place where you were earning your money the traditional way, like what 97% of the population is doing. You went back to school, you're like, okay, well, maybe I need more education. Maybe it's me.
Right. Right. That was first.
That was the first part. You're like, well, maybe, I'm just like, I need to do something else with myself. So you went back and you re-educated yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So, we all go that path, and we're like, okay, well, maybe I'll just go back and just get some education. But the truth is, there are so many wealthy people right now that, barely even finish like elementary school. There's historic, evidence of multiple people that barely even made it out of like 5th grade.
Right.
Right? And you're like, hey, but I have a master's though. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
this don't make any kind of sense, right? It don't make any kind of sense. So what are they doing that I'm not doing? So when you match it up with like education level, you realize that, hey, there's a mismatch in how this compensation is going. So we know that the more educated you are, that is not going to be the correlation between your compensation at all. No, by any means it's not. I mean, it could, but the probability is that that's not the way it's going to go, because the law of compensation says that it is in direct correlation, earning money is in direct correlation to providing a valuable service. So the bigger the service you provide, the bigger the exchange that the other person is going to be willing to give you, because you solved a really, really deep pain for them, right? So I'm so happy that you made that transition for yourself too. So I'm going to get Miss Tanika on the line here and have her do some contribution as well too. I know she said her tooth hurt. She had her little, her situation today. Her situation. So let's see what she has to say. All right.
I'm soothing it with ice cream.
You get ice cream.
I'm soothing it with ice cream.
You are my kind of girl. That's how I recover from everything. All right, so there's no judgment here.
Okay. I'm like Courtney. When I needed more money, I just got some overtime and picked up a second job and did the same thing. It wasn't until you just said, like, picking up the overtime was really just a trade-off. I never thought of it like that. I'm just thinking, okay, I need more money. What am I going to do to get some more money? And it was do some overtime or get another job. And now it's starting to wear me down, because it's not a good trade. It's affecting, my health and all this stuff. So, yeah.
And no matter how many hours that you work, it's not going to equal your best life.
No.
Right? Because to equal your best life, like you need like $5,000 an hour, $10,000 an hour. And then there's no, Courtney's like, yes, boo. That's what I'm talking about right there. Courtney's like, yes, Jackie. The best. Show it to me, sugar. Right? So there is an employer that's going to do that. However, you can find a service that's going to provide that for you. And today I actually had this conversation with one of my coaching students, right? So she got a deal under contract, right? And she is marketing for her buyer right now. So the deal that she has on the contract, the seller was trying to sell the property on their own, and they were unsuccessful at it. They started out at 120,000 and they dropped their price to 115, 110. Now they're down to 105, and they actually brought it all the way down to 101. So when they decreased it all the way to 101,000, that's when they finally picked up the phone and responded to her inquiries as a real estate investor. She told them she's interested in making them an offer. Anyway, so what she did is she made them an offer for an option agreement. And she says, okay, how much money do you really want to sell your house for? And they were like, well, I just need I just need more money. So she was like, all right, no problem. Do you have any issues with me making money if you get everything that you want? And the seller was like, sure, I just want to sell it. So she put the property back on the market and she signed an option agreement with them. So now she went and she started marketing her option agreement. So her compensation in this deal was going to be the difference between what the seller wanted and what she could actually get her assignment for, right? So in less than 48 hours, ladies, in less than 48 hours, right, she was able to get 3 viable buyers, 3 potential buyers that it was like, I want this house. Like she did like an open house. She was like, meet me at the crib. Meet me. You want to see us? Meet me at the crib. Okay. All right. So she had like 3, 4, 5 families come in. She put it out on Craigslist. She did everything that she's supposed to do, you know, based on the guidance that I shared her. And she was able to get people's attention, buyers' attention, and have them come and look at the house. So they started like a bidding war. All right. So here's how the moral of this story goes. So the seller was like, wait a minute. OMG, there's people interested in my house. Listen, the way how my bank account is set up, I know I had agreed and said that you could get, you know, X amount of dollars from this deal, but I think that I want more. So I want you to take less. And that was a conversation that the seller was having with her. So I said, well, what did you do? And she said, well, you know, I just didn't want to lose the deal. So I agreed to take less. I says, you did what? No. Why did you do that? She was like, I don't know, Jackie, you know, he had another property down the street and I wanted to, you know, have him assign that property to me. So out of good faith, she agreed to take about $1,500 less. So she was going to get $5,000 and she agreed to take $3,500. That's $1,500 less than what she was expecting to get out of this deal. So I had to explain something to her. I said, listen to me, Linda. Listen, Linda. All right. Listen, Linda. Okay. I need you to value your service. This seller spent over 90 days trying to sell his property himself and was unsuccessful in doing so. Even if he did sell his property himself, by the time you met him, he was like at $100,000. He had already cut his own price down by $20,000. So he was very, very content with accepting $20,000 less for his property because he's the one that was reducing his own price. Now you come on the scene with your, you know, expertise, your knowledge, your experience, and your guide from your coach. You invested in a coach and you did work in 48 hours and were able to not only get buyers for his minimum, which was $100,000, but you actually got buyers to say yes to $120,000. So I know she upsold it. She upsold it. And now that she upsold it, he was feeling some kind of way. He was feeling some kind of way. So I explained to her that the value that she brought to him far exceeded what her compensation was actually. So he didn't have a right to ask her to take less, because without her, he wouldn't have been able to get a sale at all, because people were not even interested in his property. So another analogy to this would be like this, and people say this is not fair. So Tanika, you went and you got a procedure done today. I'm not sure how long your procedure was, but I'm gonna say your procedure was like an hour. Would you agree? Probably just about an hour or so. Okay. All right, good. So before that procedure, you were in some kind of discomfort, right? Because that's what led all the way up to you making the decision to go and see a physician, a doctor, the dentist, whoever it was, to fix you. You ain't care, you know what I'm saying, who fixed you. You were just like, I need fixing, right? So you went through the procedure, you got fixed. Now you feel better, you're healing, and the procedure was only an hour. But your bill is $5,000, right? Your bill is $5,000. Now you'd be like, well, is that fair that the doctor got $5,000 for an hour? I don't know. Is it fair? Because you received the service that you desperately needed. You were in pain, you were in discomfort, you were in agony, whatever that situation was. So he gave you the value for what you needed. So his pay or her pay is based off of the service that they provided, because now you can go on in the rest of your life and you're like, whatever that situation is, you got it fixed, never for it to come back again. So that's the law of compensation. That's a great example of the law of compensation. So, if we were thinking of it in exchanging time, for money, if it was just 1 hour, I don't think that your physician would have said, okay, you could just pay me $10, right? Because if it's like a $10 an hour job or $15 an hour job, your physician was not going to be like, all right, this is just 15, your bill is only $15. We're good. Because it was just by the hour. He was like, this hour means absolutely nothing to me. It's the value of exchange that you receive is the reason why that physician got that compensation. So that's the way you ladies are now going to have to look at your own compensation is based off of your value, not necessarily like the increments of time itself. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. So what we're going to discuss right now is actually our own personal history with money. How about that? Our own personal history with money, because our own personal history with money is part of our money journey and our money story. And it is influencing how we feel about money, how we see ourselves with money, and how we see ourselves in the future in our relationship with money. All right. So Courtney, I see you. She's like, no, Jackie, not me. It's only 3 of us on here, so you're gonna have to say something. All right. So share with me, Courtney, in your memory, as far back as you can remember, what was your first memory of money in your own awareness of it? And was that memory a good memory, or was that memory like a negative memory, and why?
There was abundance. Is how I felt as a kid. Maybe not in the most legal way, but I never wanted for anything. So growing up, we always had whatever we wanted. Mm-hmm. And then there was a time where the legal people came in and it was over. It was all gone after that. So then it became we ain't have money anymore. Not to where we didn't have it, because we always looked like we did, but it wasn't like we had it like we used to as a kid. And then as I got older, it was a time where I lived with different people, and I seen things I wouldn't have seen as far as like people that had a lot of money. I wouldn't have seen that being just with my mom or my dad. So then I started thinking different, like, oh, I never seen this before. How they get this. So the older I got, I feel like it was maybe delayed learning. I probably could have learned it faster, but I've always been frugal with it. And I've always been a saver, and I've always been a budgeter, and I've always been good with it. my grandmother scared me from credit cards. Like but it was like just, I'm never uncomfortable. I'm just comfortable. Like I'm happy with what I got. I got it. I'm not, it could be worse. So it's like, I'm fine with what I have, but then I'm like, I could have more than this.
Yeah.
So now I need to figure out how to get more than this. So I've always been good with that. And then, the first time ever that I did recently, when I paid for the other real estate classes, when the most I've ever spent on anything. Right. And so now I'm over here like, that is not me. I wouldn't have done that. So now I'm over here, I'll have anxiety every time I got to pay all these credit cards. But other than that, I've always been just getting by with it. Like, I've always been a saver, and I could just get up and go out of town if I want to, but it wasn't like an abundance of it.
So you know what? You have a very interesting money story. You do, because, some individuals do start out with the perception that money is easy, it's effortless, it comes to me whenever I call it, it's there. I never really had to think about like how it's made or how it is available. You just have it. Mm-hmm. And in your situation, that was, as in your childhood, right? That was your first impression. And then something happened. There was trauma, right? There was trauma and there was an event, and that availability changed. Okay. And when that availability changes, trauma is a real thing. Like, a lot of people think, trauma has to be like physical. And Tanika should probably tell you about that. She's a nurse. Trauma is not only physical, it is emotional, and it can be mental trauma. So most people don't really understand that there can be mental trauma with money as well. So after listening to your story, what I am feeling inside to share with you is that particular trauma and that changed in your life. It made you, it hurt you in a certain way. And you may not know that it hurt you at that time, because whatever that age was, you may not have been able to articulate what that meant, but you had something and it was taken away. Mm-hmm. So because you don't want to feel that pain again of something that was important to you, or something that you held in high regard, removed out of your life, that has caused you from that point forward in your adult life to cling to it and to kind of like hoard it and covet it, because you're like, I don't want to go through that pain again. So I'm gonna hold on to every single dollar in my possession, because, in my past, in your subconscious, you're still holding on to that pain, that moment in your life that money left you.
Right.
That money left you. And today, that money story of holding on to it, being afraid to let it go and to let it actually flow in your life, is hindering your ability to get more of it, So that's what I'm hearing in your money story, which is really, really interesting. Would you agree, or am I like off or something? Tell me.
No, I would agree. And then when that switch happened, it changed the dynamic of like my household. So my mom hustled after that. So then I feel like I hustled and saved. So everything just switched to, it was just there, to where it's like, now you got to work to get it. But then you can't do nothing with it because you work to get it. Right. But then you want to save it up, and then you start liking the numbers going up. But then I can't do nothing with them because I'm working all the time. This is true. And I learned God condemns savers. Okay, so I'm trying to get out of that.
Well, he wants you to put it in the storehouse, right? He said, put meat in my storehouse. So saving is not the challenge. What the challenge actually is like your feeling about it behind the saving, right? So that's where the challenge actually is, the why behind why you're saving. So when that intent is not 100% like pure, then that's when it becomes toxic. So there's nothing wrong with saving, but if you're saving because you are afraid to live your life, then that's
Right.
the problem. You're never going to have more abundance than what you're
Not going to multiply. It's just
exactly
sitting.
multiply. It's just going to sit there. All right. So we're going to go to Nikki. And Nikki, would you mind sharing your first memory of money in your childhood? And whether it was an event or whether it was a person, and what was that experience like for you? So hold on one moment. I'm going to unmute you now. So can you share if you can remember as far back as that?
Yeah, that's what I was just sitting here thinking about. I think on one side it was, I don't know. I want to say, I guess I had like conflicting messages about money, because on one side there was an abundance and what appeared at the time to be an overflow, and then on the other side there was, I don't want to say a struggle, but there was always maybe just enough to get by. I don't want to say we grew up poor, but at the time, you know, I didn't realize it. I was young, so I had enough. I had food, I had clothes, I had toys and stuff at Christmas, so we did a little bit of traveling. So I didn't grow up wealthy, but I guess at the time I didn't really realize that as a kid. So somehow there was I grew up with conflicting views on money and what it would mean to me. So as I got older, I started being, just like the young lady who just spoke, a saver. But then I realized, you know, you can't get anything out of a closed fist, but you can't get anything in either. So, I don't know specifically what forced me to be a saver. Maybe not being able to get something, maybe being told that something was too expensive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So now I don't teach my kids that something is too expensive. I may teach them that it's not something that we're going to get right now. So it's not a question of it being expensive, but more of a question of how to get there now, I think is where I've evolved to at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't remember a specific story with money, but it's just that my dad had money and my mom didn't have a lot of money. So, you know, as I spent summers with my dad, there was an overflow of abundance. And then the rest of the year with my mom, you know, we had to watch what we had, basically.
And, you know, that conflicting storyline is a real thing for you, because in one instance, it seemed like money was accessible and available. And then when you're with another parent, it felt tight and hard to get. So as a child, you're like, okay, there's ambivalence there. You don't really know what to talk about or how to feel about it. And if your parents never discussed money openly with you and how they earned it, it was just like this mysterious thing. You know, that sometimes it brought you joy, you know, when you got a new toy, and there were other times where it caused you like pain and anxiety because you wanted something and they were like, no, we can't have this right now, you know, and you're like, why? And they're like, because, you know, they didn't really give you an answer. But money, when talking about money to some adults, to children, I don't know if this was with your parents, like your parents become even uncomfortable having that conversation because they really don't know how to explain it, because they don't even know how to explain it. So they don't really transfer a good message and a good like vibration about money to their children. So we're left to kind of figure it out ourselves. And if that conversation never really happened to make you feel comfortable with being free to talk about money, then that also is a contributor to your own money story, because then you feel like restricted and tight, you know, in when you come on to making your decisions, because it makes you anxious to think about it, you know. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and we're going to move on to Miss Tanika there. All right. Let's see here. Here she goes. Okay, wonderful.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm different. I'm different from Nikki, and I'm different from Courtney. Um, my money story as a kid, we struggled. We were poor. We were poor. A lot of people on the outside didn't realize that we were as poor as we was because my mom and my aunt made it look different. But I remember like going to middle school where I had to get the free lunch and all my friends would buy like the pizza and all that stuff, and I couldn't do that. Or they can go out to eat after school and I couldn't do that because there wasn't any money. So like it was just always, you can't do this, you can't do that. I couldn't do hardly any of the things that a lot of the people around me could do because it was 7 of us, but we didn't have anything. You know what I'm saying? Even though my mom worked, I guess because it was so many of us, it was just never enough. So when I think about my childhood and money, it was never any. So then when I became an adult, I started to make money, I would spend it. And I still spend it. I'm not a saver. I'm not a saver because I'm always the go-to person. If somebody needs help, they'll come to me. I'll help them. If anybody, my friend will call and say, oh, I need my gas and electric paid, I'll help them. And I don't know if it's because out of all of my siblings, I'm the first one that went to college. I'm the only one that went to college out of all my siblings, out of all my friends. And in my mind, I don't want them to feel what I felt before. So I'm always willing to help people, and they know to always come to me like, I'll give it back. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll give it to you. So the more money I make, the faster it's going out. So I can get a paycheck, and then I can pay all my bills, and then whatever's left, instead of saving it, somebody's borrowing it. And I didn't see that this was an issue until like my boyfriend and my kids started to get older, and they started to say, Mom, why do you always have to give everybody something? Like, you don't have to save everybody. And I think that now I'm learning that, but all the money is gone. You know what I'm saying? So I'm different from them. I'm making good money, but I don't have any money, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. And so here's what I'm hearing. Oh, do you hear is my mic on? What happened, Courtney?
Your mic is on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's you.
That's you. Okay. I'm like, is my mic on? No, Courtney said, no. That's really me. All right. So I'm going to share my feeling that I'm feeling in your story, Tanika, because you and I seem to be cut from the same cloth. All right. So growing up, my mom is an immigrant. My entire family are immigrants from the Caribbean, from Jamaica. Okay. Some came here, legally, and some of them not so much. Okay. So, but over the years, they fixed themselves. Okay. So, we all up in here. Okay. So, growing up in an immigrant family, they come to America with the intent of making life. They come here with nothing, and they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and America is like the land of the free and the opportunity. So they work multiple jobs, like 2-3 jobs, whatever those, minimum wage jobs are. They got 10 of them all at the same time. Okay. That's just what they did. So growing up, yes, we did not have a lot of money. My mom, I grew up in a single parent home, but she made us feel like we had a lot of money. So I didn't know how poor we were until like I became an adult, because she always kind of like made do, and she suppressed whatever was happening in our world at that time. So, whenever there was an eviction notice, or there was like, a repossession, or whatever it is that was happening in her life, she snatched the notice before any of the kids could see it. You know what I'm saying? So we just knew that we was moving again. We didn't know why.
Right.
We just knew that we was moving. So, that was just one of the things that just always happened. So I had a lot of conflicting emotions about money growing up, because I realized that it would cause my mother a lot of pain. Like whenever the subject came up, or there was a situation that caused her to fall behind, because she was already barely making it. So if there was any anomaly that came up in her world, because she was just barely, living paycheck to paycheck, if there was anything new that came up that threw off that cycle, it was like devastation. So I watched my mom budget her entire life in a 30-day period. Like every 30 days, all she wanted to do was just make it through the month, because that's when all of the bills was due. She just wanted to make it through the month and pay the rent, pay the groceries, do all of these things. So I observed that kind of behavior. And then as an adult, I adopted the same type of budget. So I couldn't see past 30 days in my own life. And even when I got older, and I'm also the only one amongst my siblings to graduate from college as well too, and to work in corporate America and make, 6 figures and stuff like that. I spent money like there's nobody business. Okay. I just spent it. And I spent it on things that I felt would make me look successful, if that's a real thing. So that was really where my pain points were. It was more important for me to not look poor than to actually be rich. So it was like the opposite. I really wanted to, when everyone saw me, they saw this image of someone that was super successful, looked like she had it going on, looked like everything was all great. But, inside the bill collectors was calling, what I'm saying? I got to hide my car. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The cars at your cousin's house, you're taking a bus to your cousin's house so that you go pick up your car.
Right.
This unknown address that your vehicle is located at, just so the repo man don't find your vehicle because you're not paying your car note, So in your situation, Tanika, the one of the reasons that your money story is really making you feel obligated to give your money away is because when you were being raised in your childhood, not having the money, right, was a thing. You got comfortable with that situation and that lifestyle of not having. It was just your normal. Mm-hmm. So when you have money now, it actually is uncomfortable to have it, because in your subconscious mind, you never had money, right? So now that you have money, you feel like you got to give it away, or you feel guilty for having it. So you've gone through all these different phases and stages in your life that prepared you to earn more, right? You educated yourself and prepared you to earn more in your profession, but there's still that little girl back there that's saying, hey, we don't have money. And if you have money and you have more than your siblings and your family, then she's feeling bad about it. She's feeling guilty about it. So she's like, no, I don't want to have that feeling, that anxiety, that pressure of being the only one that has a piece of candy. And I got 7 brothers and sisters and nobody else has a piece of candy. So I'm the only one that got the candy. So I'm obligated to give my candy away because I don't feel worthy enough that I'm just going to hold on to my, my own candy, my own wealth. You feel like you're obligated to give it. And that's part of the fact that in your childhood, you didn't have it. Just like me, my mom spent a really, really long time, many, many years pretending. And I watched her pretend, for her own wealth. I mean, you see me with my lashes. Let me tell you something, hunty. Okay. When my mom was in her prime, them stilettos was killing it. Okay. You would have not known that this lady had no pennies in her purse. Okay. None. None. Because she was walking she was just, I would sit I would sit at the bathroom door and watch my mother put on her makeup. And I think that, I grew up watching my mom. My mother was a makeup lady. So I would sit and watch her put on her makeup. She would be so beautiful, and I was like always so enchanted with how she looked. And I always wanted to be like that, right? So I would emulate my mom. But the truth is, my mom put on that face because she didn't want others to know and have that vulnerability and that fear and basically all of that that deficit, that unfulfillment that she had in her. She hid that from the world by making her exterior shell beautiful. And everything around her, as much as she could, she made it beautiful. So I grew up doing the same thing, is beautifying everything. Everything got to be luxurious. I don't even got luxurious. I got a $3,000 purse, but I don't got $3,000. Okay, that's a real thing. That really did happen, and I convinced myself that I needed that. But I didn't have $3,000 in my savings, but I sure did have a $3,000 purse, So these are the things that our money story are the situations that our money story will contribute to our decision-making process. So our money story is not actually how much money we have. It's not how much money we make. It's not even how much assets we have or our net worth. It is everything, every experience that we have had, whether we inherited it or we observed it or somebody told us and gave us our first impression or whatever the experience was. It influences every part of our decision-making process all the way up until now. And everything in your life right now, ladies, whether good, bad, or indifferent, whatever your perspective is, all of those decisions that you've made so far has been decisions that have been influenced by your money story, which is this program in the background that's running subconsciously that you don't even know is like influencing how you live today. So our Money Matters Mind Shift Mastermind is meant to create the awareness and identify what our actual story is, and then be able to decide, hey, is this serving me or is this actually limiting me? Right? So that's the first step. And your money story is neither good or bad. You just need to be aware of what it actually is and then look at it from a objective point of view and say, hey, is this thought process in how I think about money and feel about money, is it serving me or is it actually deterring me from moving forward and accomplishing all of my goals? So I would ask you, I think, Tanika, you are currently still unmuted. With the knowledge that you have now and the new awareness, right, as we talk about our money story, do you believe that your money story is serving you or is actually deterring you right now?
It's deterring me.
Mm-hmm. And by changing your money story and rewriting it with unlimited possibilities, right? If you had no reservations about money, what do you think your life would be like?
A lot happier. A lot happier.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really realize that until we had our phone conversation a few weeks ago, that all the things that I thought was making me happy wasn't really making me happy. Like me helping, like going back to me helping everybody, just it seems though in my life I'm more happy with serving other people versus serving myself. If I didn't have any money problems and money wasn't an issue, I can see me doing a lot more for myself, traveling and just being free, just not having a care in the world. Whereas I stay in my mind, I stay stressed because it's always something. I think that if I didn't have a money problem, I could just get away, not worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
You be like living your best life, right? Whatever that looks like.
Whatever that is.
whatever that looked like, you know,
Right.
be in it. Shoot. So, Ms. Nikki, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you believe your life would look like without any limitations in your money story? You know, do you believe that your money story is supporting your journey and your vision, or do you think that it's actually taken away from what you want to do with the rest of your life?
I actually think my money story is a positive because it kind of led me down the path to where I am and kind of contributed to me getting into the financial services industry, which has put me in position to actually have unlimited earning potential. Because just like you, I meet a lot of women in the day who have $3,000 purses and even more and have nowhere near that amount in their bank account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I basically work with those women to teach them how to actually create and live by that budget, because you might be surprised at how many people actually don't have a budget and have no clue where their money is going.
Yeah.
So I feel like that struggle, because in my story, my father actually openly talked about money, but because I grew up with my mom and I spent more time with her, I think I probably picked up more of her way of doing things as opposed to his. But he actually was one who tried to talk to us about money and tried to give us some of those pearls, if you will, to basically to be successful. Because my dad is and has been an entrepreneur, I think, all my life. I don't ever remember him working for anyone else. So, but he's actually been able to do very well for himself.
Yeah. And you know what? I had a double life, girl. Just like you. I lived like 007. Okay. So, you know, summers was with my dad, and during the school year was with my mother. And my father was very prosperous. And you know, the funny thing is, like, when during the summer, I was rich. I mean, literally, like I was like the rich girl. Okay, my dad would just give me that, and he was like, "Go have a good time," you know. But that's a whole nother story. But that's really what my lifestyle was with him. It was abundance. It was freedom. You know, there wasn't any restrictions whatsoever. And the only time, you know, we met up again is when I ran out of it and I needed some more. And I was like, Dad, I don't have any more money, you know? And I think one summer, I think I was 16. By the time I was 16, he was like, okay, well, this summer you're going to get a job. And I was like, say what? What do you mean? What do you mean? That's a thing? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay. So, you know, at 16, he put me to work, you know, in the business. But even then, it was still, I was just spending every, you know, paycheck I got. But he would also talk to me about, you know, money and about investing and savings. I wasn't trying to hear all that, you know, saying I was too busy spending it to actually think about like investing it. So that was like my double life that I lived as well too. So I think if I grew up with my father and it was like the opposite, then I would probably have been a little bit more investing earlier in my life, because he definitely had a strong influence in that later in my life, but not early in my life. And ironically, like you, I gravitated to industries that dealt with money. I always wanted to be around it. So the funny part about it is I'm a ex-banker. Like literally, I have in my, you know, I had stacks and stacks of money all around me all the time, right? So I'm a banker. I'm working with physical money. You know, I'm counting hundreds of thousands of dollars every single day. Like I did that for many, many years. And subconsciously, I think to myself that I'm like, how did I end up in banking? You know, and like I can give great advice to other people regarding managing their money, how to invest it. And then in my own world, it was like chaos, right? So that was the really interesting thing, and the dynamics about like this like really crazy relationship that I had with money. I worked with it. I saw it every day. I physically had access to touch it. I was around wealthy people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And would have really great conversations. I would be sharing with them what's the latest, greatest product, you know, of what they can put their money into, and have like different options of actually investing. So it's really interesting how subconsciously I ended up working with money, because it was just something that I was so attracted to. So, you know, it's just really interesting.
I did the same thing. I worked with money, but I didn't have much of my own. And much like you, I counted millions straight from the U.S. Treasury, and I was around it all the time, but I was broke.
Crazy. That don't even make sense. It's true. You locked up in the vault, you know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You got the stacks of money on the counter, and it's really just the paper. It's like inventory. You know, you're just, it's no different than if you were counting how many cans, you know, was in this box, and you were going to box the cans, you know, from the box to the shelf in the supermarket. It was just inventory. So it didn't really mean anything, you know, physically to you, but emotionally and mentally, it was like everything. You know, there was like this turmoil and disconnect when it came on to actually applying the value of money in your own personal life. That's really interesting that we share that history with each other. That's pretty dope. So Miss Courtney, it is your turn right now. We're going to talk about your money story. All right. And you're going to share with me, what do you think about your money story? Hold on one second. There you go. You're unmuted.
What I think about it?
Yeah. Do you think I know you're a saver. You said that you were frugal. So that's your own words. You calling your own self cheap. So
like it's like, and I feel bad when I buy myself something. I hate.
Really?
Now I'm just like, well, I'm like the other girl that I'm the go-to in my family. So for a long time I was a giver, but I never would make it to where I didn't have anything. It was like, this is the lowest I'm gonna go. But then I started being like, well, I'm only enabling you guys and hindering myself. So until I can get to the level where it's not so bad, I'm gonna start telling y'all, no, I ain't got it. But I'll spend the money on them before I spend it on me. So, but I don't know if it necessarily, like, I guess it's not good enough. That's all I know.
Well, whatever is happening, it's not allowing you to live your best life. Like whatever.
Right. It's not good enough. But, you know, I feel like it could be worse. So I try not to dwell because I'll get anxiety.
And that's part of the challenge. That's part of the challenge in itself too. You were like, oh, well, I try not to dwell. Like, what does that mean? So we just gonna avoid thinking about what we need to be thinking about to fix ourselves. That's really what you just
said. because if something like, okay, so I just paid for all those, or for that class with these credit cards that they done gave me or whatever. And one of them, it was like, your minimum payment is $40, but you got interest of $75, and I about fell out. I'm not giving y'all no extra money. So I'm trying to figure out why I have interest when all the other cards have zero interest. I wouldn't have used it. Why y'all ain't tell me that? Like, so I'm over here all stressed out. I'm calling everybody, talking to everybody. Okay, so what can I do then? Because I really don't want to pay that $75. That doesn't make any sense. If the minimum payment is $40 and I gotta pay $75 for no reason. So I'm over here. I literally had anxiety. I started feeling sick just because. And I know it's like $4,000 on here in interest every month. I gotta figure out how to get this off here. What I'm supposed to do.
Oh my.
So it gives me anxiety. And I can tell myself, like, even with me being part of the RIA, I could have went to a meeting yesterday. Did I go? No. Like, it's just, it's scary.
But what is actually scary for you is losing, you know? So that's really what is in your money story.
Yeah.
It's losing because you had that traumatic experience that caused a loss in your life so early.
Right.
And that's the experience that you are trying to avoid in your
And it's harder for me to take chances because
right.
I'll be so nervous because I'll be like, I can't go back that way because I see it still happening in my family now. Now that it switched that way, it hasn't left them. Me, I'm just got away from them. So I see it still happening, and I'm like, I can't go back that route. I can't. I'll just.
That's
so.
But you're a winner.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So so because you are a winner, everything about you is winning. So what we are going to do in the next 6 weeks is introduce your subconscious mind to winning. You're going to feel a lot better about who you are, your own power, and your ability that you have right now to win. Because everything that you touch, every decision that you make turns to gold. And you have to believe that. So there is nothing to be afraid about when it comes on to making decisions about money and the value that and the exchange basically that it brings to you. There's nothing that you should be like guilty of, right? Because whatever happened in the past is the past. That is not your future. And what happened is that we tend to bring our past into our present, which influences our future. So people are like, oh, you keep bringing stuff up, but that's what it is. We bring up our past influences our present, which then delays our future. So that's really where we are right now. All right. We're having, every time we bring up something from that happened yesterday into today, our tomorrow is moved further and further away from us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Because the RIA is where the money's at. And I can't believe if you want more money, you ain't going to the meetings. What's that about?
I mean, I registered and everything, girl, and I was just over here like,
that don't even make no sense.
I don't know nobody. I'll be by myself, talking myself out of it. Like, girl, you can go the next time. Like, just. I was like, I'm gonna just talk to her tomorrow. Look, and I'm gonna learn something.
Oh my gosh! So you know what that is? Just so you know, I'm gonna share it for everyone. All the ladies on the group. So that like hesitation to go to the RIA and to learn how to like new skills, new strategies on how you can make more money. The reason why you're hesitating is not because like the reason why you're hesitating is because in your mind, your subconscious mind is like, okay, if we go, we have the possibility of making more money. All right. And you're like, okay, well, that can't be a bad thing. But then again, you're like, but the more money I make, I'm gonna have more risk of losing it. So you'd rather not make it just to avoid the pain of possibly not having it. Isn't that something? That's really what's happening with you, girl.
Girl, scared.
That's how
Look,
deep
scared money don't make no money.
That's how deep your money story is right now. So it's like, it's counterproductive because you want to make more money, but you're like personally self-sabotaging yourself from doing the things that would potentially position you to make more money because you have a fear of losing it when you do have it. So you don't want to lose it. So your subconscious mind is like, we might as well just don't do nothing.
Don't even put yourself in that position.
Don't even put yourself in that. Don't even risk your life. That's a thing. That's a real thing.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. So, for me, my money story was I had to release myself from the idea of looking rich versus actually doing the things that made me rich. All right. And that took a lot for me to do because there's work involved with being prosperous and actually changing your mindset for abundance. So it's not that I don't like nice things today. I love nice things. What I do ask myself is this something that's going to enhance me, or is it something that's going to take away from me? So that's really how I make my decisions today, but not that I don't think that I deserve it, or I'm not regressing in my desires for like designer stuff, like I just like it. Like I'm not going to stop buying MAC lipstick and, makeup and eyelashes and things like that. Those are the things that make me happy. But what makes me even more happier today is seeing more zeros on the right side of the decimal.
Period.
Not that way. I want to see the other way. Because when the zeros is on the opposite side, that means it's a negative number.
Okay.
I want to see it on the other side. The other side. Oh my gosh. It's been so amazing. What a breakthrough. What a breakthrough already, ladies. And it's just like session 1. It is session 1. And we have learned like so much about what is happening in our minds. Because it's like, you come to a point in your life and you're like, what is happening? Like, why do I keep making the same decisions over and over and over again? And I feel like a hamster on a wheel and nothing is forward progression. And I feel like I'm just repeating the same episode in my life over and over again. And you're like, I don't know why I keep doing why I'm doing and what I'm doing. And you want to change, but because the story goes so deep, and you're even unaware that it even exists, you don't even know what to change unless somebody else points it out to you. Does that make sense? Like an external source points it out to you. And that's the reason why it was so important for me to have this mastermind with you ladies, because this gave us an opportunity to free ourselves from what was happening in here so that we can perform at our maximum and really manifest the abundance that we absolutely have the right to have. Okay. I'm not talking about, searching hard and everything. I'm talking about your inheritance. Like it is there for you. There is no shortage of anything in this world that each of you cannot have. All right. It's all yours for the taking. You just have to actually have the mind that you deserve it and that you have the value that you are giving and that you are going to get it. All right. So that's what this mastermind is for, to help you catapult into your wealthy place and release yourself from some of these limiting beliefs and limiting behaviors that have been causing you to feel stagnant in your life. Right. So we've been on the call a little bit over an hour, so I don't want to keep you ladies too long. So remember I said that we was going to have homework? Oh, yes. Hold on, Courtney, I'm going to put you on mute. Hold on a second. I see you there, Miss Tanika. So
Me?
You've been nodding and smiling and stuff like that.
Because you speaking my language.
I love it. She's like, yeah, that's me. Oh,
Dumb dust. Okay.
Jackie, fix my life right.
Please.
You ladies are so beautiful. I mean, seriously.
Thank you.
I love y'all so much. So we have homework, and I am going to be emailing each of you 3 attachments. So you'll have 7 days to do it. And I'm going to look at Courtney's face. She's like, wait, there's homework? All right. So yes, there's homework because it's going to support you in your transition and get some of the ideas and thoughts that you have onto paper. And then you can actually look at them and say, I didn't really realize that I felt this way. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that this is what I was actually thinking. So it's a series of questions that's going to help you rewrite your money story. So I will be emailing each of you the questionnaire for your money story. And then after you finish answering those questions, the highlight of your week will be that you will write a letter to money. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, you will. I saw those faces. Mm-hmm. So you remember back in the day when you had like pen pals? You remember pen pals? And you had like, you know, your BFF over in a whole nother country, and you would write letters back and forth to each other. We are going to communicate with money as a real person, as a real human being with feelings, okay? Because money does have feelings, all right? You got to talk to her. If you want her to come here, we got to talk. Come here, girl. We got to figure this thing out together, all right? So money is not like this inanimate object that's so far and so removed. That's part of the problem, is that we have been treating money, you know, without the respect that it needs, right? So if we were to personify money, if we were to personify it and actually make it a good person and actually make it a person, with the decisions that we have made thus far in our life, would that person be sticking around with us right now? I'm gonna ask you, Miss Nikki, would you? We'll put you off of on mute. All right. So if money was a real person, like your BFF or whatever, in your decision-making process in your life, would she stick around and still be your friend?
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. I haven't exactly treated her the best, respected her, or done the things that I know I should have.
Right. So we're gonna confess some things to money. We're gonna talk to her and let her know how we feel about her. So whatever it is that you know, comes from you and flows from you, I just want you to allow it to flow naturally and organically, and not really think too hard about it, you know. And I'll share with you my letter to money as well when I wrote it the first time, because I've rewritten my letter to money a couple of times, right? So we keep this open relationship going as we grow together. And I'll share with you my first letter that I wrote to money a few years ago when I decided that I wanted to reconcile our relationship. It was like a bad relationship, and I had to have a come to Jesus moment with her, and was like, listen, I'm really sorry. And I really need you to come back. You know, it's like that relationship, like, you know, you had that, you know, you did that man wrong. You know, you shouldn't have said that, you know? And you had to own it. And you're like, listen, if you just come back home and give me one more chance, I promise that I won't be that girl anymore. So we're going to have our letter that we write to money. Okay, so we're going to have our assignment of rewriting our money story and comparing how we feel about money. And then we're going to have our letter that we are going to write to money. And then we are going to meet again next week and share our money story and our answers and our answers to the questions, and see how we do and how we fare. All right. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so dope. I promise. All right. So,
how long does this letter have to be? I'm sorry.
You don't have to be very, very long, you know, just sentences, you know, whatever it would be, whatever you feel comfortable in writing. So it doesn't have to be a novel.
Okay.
So that's what it is. It doesn't have to be a novel. As a matter of fact, I mean, the template for the money story is literally, it's just like a, and what is it, 8.5 by 11? It's just one sheet.
Okay.
So, but when you're writing, you may exceed that. You may start out like, oh, I'm just going to just put, a couple of sentences, and then you find yourself like, crying a little bit. You're like, okay, so when I said this, I didn't really mean it. And then, I take it back, So, whatever flows from you, just write as much or as little, because the truth is the exercise itself is extremely powerful. So
Okay.
the length of the letter is not what's important. It's the content and the exercise behind it, like your truthfulness and your vulnerability regarding your relationship with money.
Okay.
Ooh, ooh. I hear it. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
You really are making me think here.
And that's the point, because we've been on autopilot for a really, really long time. And we need to like change the flow and break up our patterns so that we can actually perform at our maximum. Does that make sense? That's what wealthy people have done. They've broken the patterns and the habits that are not serving them so that they can form new habits to actually get to their maximum potential in whatever it is, whatever area it is in their life. Does that make sense? So yeah, it's intentional. I am intentionally trying to brainwash you. So that's not a secret. Okay. I'm intentionally trying to change your thought patterns and disrupt everything in your life. That's true. Yep. And I intentionally want you to go in a different direction. So there you have it. I have an ulterior motive.
Okay.
Guilty.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're going to go in a round robin, and Tanika, you are already off unmuted. So share with me your first experience with session, week number 1. What did you enjoy the most, or would you have added anything or changed anything?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I wouldn't add anything. I am happy that I'm able to feel comfortable. I'm not really one of those kind of people that can talk freely to people I don't know, but being in this group, you guys made me feel comfortable. So I was able to share what I share without having to be selective of what I share, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I like the vibe in the group. You've made it enjoyable, and I really do appreciate that.
Yay! That's so awesome. And that's really important for me to make our community a safe place to share without judgment. And that's important because I believe that we've carried a lot for so long, and we've suppressed a lot for so long. We've pretended for so long that we've come to a place where in our pretentiousness, it became our new normal. So we don't even know who we are anymore because like we've pretended to be somebody else for so long. It's just like, I need some place and actually release some things. And that's why I wanted this group to be that special place that everyone has the opportunity to share without feeling embarrassed or without feeling that they are being judged, because we're here to grow together and help each other grow into who we really are and who we already designed to be. So, this transition is from where you are right now in your mind, but it's not to like some super lady over there. It's to the superwoman that's already in existence. You already got that, So that's what I'm here to do, is just to bring to your consciousness and your awareness that you are already amazing and super, and for you to just realize it and walk within that power. So that's what this group is designed to do. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know wonderful about yourself, because you ladies know that you're wonderful, so I'm just here to remind you of that fact. So that's what this community is all about. So Miss Nikki, I think you are unmuted, so share with me your experience in our first session.
Just like Tanika, I think the comfort level is what is most pleasing, because I tend to be painfully shy, and in my industry it is a serious handicap. So that the fact that I'm very comfortable sharing and being open and honest is very important to me. I don't think I would add anything either, because I think this was just enough to break the ice and get us going. I don't like feeling overwhelmed, and I have a tendency to get overwhelmed fairly easily, I think. So I think this is just enough.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I appreciate you so much for sharing. And Miss Courtney, here we go. I'm going to unmute you, and I see you there. You getting yourself you going to bed now. She's like, I got my polka dot robe on. It is that time of the day.
So I really enjoyed it. I feel like it's definitely something that I need. The only thing I would change is your girl be sleep by 9:30.
I see you yawning.
Girl, I kept having to change it. Like, girl, I'm over here struggling. It's only because my body's used to getting up at 4:30 to be to the gym at 5.
Okay.
So I'm so used to going to sleep. But I don't even put no time on this, so I can stay up. Okay.
Oh.
But so if I yawn, it's nothing against you. It's just because my body like, girl, what you doing? But no, right now I'm just over here putting these little laundries, laying them out flat so they ain't got no wrinkles. But no, I really did enjoy it. And it's something that, like, even that question, like, no one's ever asked me that question. To even think what I experienced with money growing up, like, that's crazy. Then now I'm over here probably gonna have to take a melatonin because my mind gonna be racing, okay? So I'm like, dang, y'all scandalous. Look what y'all did to me. No. Sorry, I'm goofy.
You are so funny. You're so funny. So yes, today's session was definitely longer. It went over, because we're all contributing and sharing. The
Right.
will definitely stay on our timeline of an hour, because I know that you ladies had a full day prior to getting on. So I will definitely keep that into consideration for our next 5 sessions moving forward. But yeah, it's interesting when you're asked that question and you put it into perspective and you're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I have been making decisions based off of, something that I really didn't have any control over, in your youth. You're like, okay, now I need to refocus and start making some decisions that are for me starting right now. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So I enjoyed each and every one of you, and thank you so much for your participation, as well as your patience as our time exceeded in our first session. So look for an email from me, because I definitely will be sending it tonight. And if you have any questions between now and our next session, definitely reply via email, and I will be here to answer them for you. Like, if you get stuck or anything like that, or you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to answer this, and you want some guidance, just reach out to me by email, and I will help you walk through that process and how to answer the question. Is it okay?
Yes. Like, what's your skincare? No. I need that skin.
Courtney.
Sorry.
But if you ask, my girl Kim, because you always got a Kim got the hookup. So Kim introduced me to these products from Beauty Counter. I think that's what the name of the product line is, called Beauty Counter. And I had no idea that this was even a thing, so.
Is that the natural stuff? The natural.
I think so. It's products that have low carcinogens in it. Oh, baby. A low carcinogens in it. And, you know, it doesn't have all these preservatives that's going to cause you to, you know, have these like chemical reactions, long-term chemical reactions. So they're like clean products, but they work. So you can get like, based on your skin type, you know, you can customize your products to match your skin type. And I have acne prone skin. So she gave me the she gave me the product line that would help keep my acne, you know, suppressed and keep my skin clean and fresh and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty dope.
I thought you was gonna say water.
Information. I can send you that if you want it.
I thought it'd be great because I thought you were gonna say water. Because when I was in Jamaica, they was like, "Oh, just water." I'm like, "Now this some bullcrap."
Yeah, I'm so tired of people telling me foolishness like that. Stop eating chocolate. For why? Like what?
Water.
What? They be like, "Oh, you don't drink water. You probably eating too much sugar." No, that's not the problem. Like I'm still going through puberty. That's the problem.
Okay, well, thanks because I need that.
All right, beauties. All right. Well, I see you're taking care of the baby. So we are going to end now. And I look forward to seeing you ladies next week, Tuesday. All right. So have a wonderful, wonderful night. God bless. Good night. Good night.